run for Secretary of State. Now, my running that year was a little bit unique, and the reason for that is there had not been a male, M-A-L-E, Secretary of State since 1927. I don't know if any of you can remember that year, but that was the statistic. And a lot of people said, Chris, you cannot win running against a female candidate that year. We worked hard and we won that race 56 to 42%. We did the right thing. 2006, I ran for re-election. The Democrats said, we can't even touch him. We're not going to run a candidate against him. Got 100% that year. That was a good thing. That brings me to 2010. As many of you know, I can't run for Secretary of State again, and so we've looked at a lot of different things, a lot of different possibilities as to what I wanted to do with the next step of my life. But at the end of the day, when I look at what they are doing to my country in Washington, D.C., I am drawn into this race because I believe I have things to offer, things that will take this country back to the right direction, things that are not happening in Washington, D.C. today. And that's what brings me here tonight, and me asking for your vote for the United States House of Representatives. You know, our representative, there's a lot of things we know are going wrong in Washington, but our representative from South Dakota has become part of the problem, not part of the solution in Washington. As I talk to people across South Dakota, I'm hearing two things. Number one, she's supporting the budget problem that we have in Washington today, votes for big spending. And the second thing I'm hearing from South Dakota is a lack of consistency on the issues. And I hear that not just from Republicans, but I hear that from Democrats. The people of South Dakota are ready for a new representative, a Republican representative from South Dakota. My campaign this year is really based on three principles. Number one, fiscal responsibility. It is imperative that we balance the federal budget. And I won't go into statistics about how great that problem is, but we need congressmen and women with a backbone to deal with that problem today and not tomorrow. The second thing I'm talking about is a smaller federal government, doing things that return power back to state and local governments. And the third thing that I'm talking about is opportunities for economic prosperity, making decisions in Washington that make it easier for you to get ahead economically, instead of the decisions that we see time and time again that make it more difficult. You know, at the end of the day, 7 days from today, you are going to have to make a choice between three candidates. And each one of us is going to tell you tonight that we are the strongest candidate for this position. And I'd just like to share with you why I believe I am that strongest candidate. Three reasons. Over the last 7 years as your Secretary of State, I've had an opportunity to work with people in almost every town in this state, from one border to the other, helping people with their issues. I believe over that time I have earned the trust of the people of South Dakota. And today, citizens are looking for leaders that they can trust. I believe I have that quality. The second thing I bring to the table is experience. You know, as Secretary of State, I have demonstrated a demonstrated track record of being a fiscal conservative. You know, a lot of people talk about that. They throw that term out there. But with Chris Nelson, you can look at the track record and see that it's not just words, but it's in my DNA. It's who I am. I also, as I mentioned, grew up in a farm ranch operation. Began farming and ranching with my dad. Continued that operation. And today I still run some cattle. I enjoy agriculture. And that's important for our next congressman. And the last thing I would offer is simply this. I have a winning track record. And that's something we've got to take up against our incumbent. I've won 2 statewide elections. I am prepared to win one more for the Republican Party. Thank you.
Well, good. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Kristi Noem, and I'm running for Congress because I firmly believe that the Democrats in Washington, D.C. are taking this country in the wrong direction. And it's become increasingly clear that they're not getting the message that we here in South Dakota and across this nation aren't going to accept it.